Welcome to this week's update on the hedged option portfolio. Since last week's update, Bitcoin caught a bid and pushed up very close to the current all-time high, but it's now pulling back, down a couple of thousand today. It's still looking decent above 70k though, with the US election now less than a week away. So a decent bit of volatility that gave a boost to front-end implied volatilities. And of course the US election vols keep ticking higher as well. This increase in implied volatility is common in the lead up to a specific event. As we get closer to the event, a larger percentage of this expiry is taken up by the event itself. Another way of thinking about it is, let's say the market is pricing in roughly a $7,000 move for this event, which is roughly the case for this expiry at the moment, and not much or at least less movement expected beforehand. Well, with 14 days left to expiry, a $7,000 move will represent a certain implied volatility. But if we reduce the days to say 7, like it is now, that $7,000 move represents a higher implied volatility because there's less time left until expiry. And again, in a few days, there will be even less time left. And a $7,000 move will be equivalent to an even higher implied volatility. So even if the market's view of the event stays the same, the implied volatility for this election expiry is likely to increase anyway until after the event. In terms of the portfolio at the moment, I'm holding a strangle on the November 1st expiry, or it's actually an inverted strangle at the moment, because both options are in the money. I'll attempt to undo this inversion as I roll it out to another expiry, and eventually I'll attempt to get both legs out of the money. And this is the portfolio at the moment. So we just have those November 1st positions, and then the rest of the positions are just the protection in June. As I mentioned in the last video, once we get to selling this election volatility, which is considerably higher, you can see at the money's about 70 here, whereas tomorrow's expiry is in the mid-40s. So next week I'll get to start selling this, and I will use that credit to add some more protection in the September expiry. For today though, I need to sell some more puts in the 2nd of November expiry. And we've just had a drop today, so it's a nice time to sell puts. I'll go for this, and we will attempt to sell this at close to mark price. My offer is slightly lower than mark, so I'll leave that for a minute, see how it does. And there we go, it got filled almost instantly. I've come into the second account that I showed in the last video now, and I'm going to do a small altcoin option trade in here. I'm going to use BNB, and the reason for that is Deribit are currently running a competition with Signal Plus. And if you sign up before the 4th of November, you'll get a free BNB option. Even if you don't plan to take part in the main competition, if you just register for the competition, you'll get a free option. So there's no reason not to do it, really. I've registered myself. So what I'm going to do today is just buy an out-of-the-money call for the election expiry, which is November 8th at the moment, although the election's on the 5th, I believe. And I'm just going to buy an out-of-the-money call. I'll go for 25 delta, so the $610 call looks good to me. Now, one thing you've got to be aware on the options is the contract multiplier. For BNB, it's actually 1, so it's the same as the ETH and Bitcoin options. Each option controls 1 BNB. If I just nip over to the Salana options to compare, though, you can see each contract represents 10 Salana. So this is more similar to stock options that you might be familiar with, where each option is worth more than one of the underlying. Normally with stock options, it will be 100. For these Salana options, it's 10. For the XRP options, it's 1,000. But for BNB, it's just 1. So the multiplier for this option I'm buying today will be 1. If I pay $6.60 for it, let's say, I'll just be paying $6.60. It's not multiplied by anything. So let's try and buy this. The current best ask at the moment is flicking between 670 and 660. Now I'm going to try and get filled for less than the ask, but this works less often on the altcoin options just because there's less people trading them. But let's give it a go anyway. Yeah, so I didn't get filled there. If I was trading Bitcoin options and I put an offer in better than the mark price, I would expect it to fill relatively quickly, unless it's some weird hour on a Sunday or something. So for the purposes of the video, I'll just buy this for $6.60. So basically, this is just a bet that the price will rally after the election or during the election. I'm expecting a Trump win, but who knows. And the settlement currency for these BNB options is USDC. And I do have a USDC balance in this account, so it will have just been taken from there. But I'll show some examples in future videos of trading like the Bitcoin options or the Ethereum options using USDC, maybe trading some of the Salana options using Bitcoin, that sort of thing, just to highlight the cross-portfolio margin system. So for now, in this second account, I'm holding the short strangle in Salana still. That's up a little bit, and now I've got a long call in BNB. And this is the current portfolio in the Bitcoin account. The value of this Bitcoin account is hovering around roughly the same value. You can see it's just been chopping around here, the equity in the account, basically treading water. The position sizes are quite small. I'm essentially waiting until the 8th of November gets a bit closer. So probably after tomorrow's expiry, I'll start trading the 8th, and that will involve rolling some of these in the money positions to the 8th. And then when we get to next week, I'll be putting more options on the election expiries and using those larger credits because the implied volatility will be higher. So I'll be receiving more money, and I'll use those larger credits to increase my protection positions. And the implied volatility in these longer dates has been coming down quite a bit recently, so it's a decent time to add to that protection. So that's it for today's video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.